Hey everyone, so glad you're here. Today I'm going to be talking about what is some of the worst marriage advice that I hear all the time, and also just some tools to be able to tell if you're getting good advice or bad advice. Because there's just so much contradictory information flying around, and we need to know how to get it right. If you're here live, please say hi. If you're here for the replay, let me know what stood out for you and what you appreciated. So, bad advice, how to spot it. Number one, consider the source. If this person is not in a happy marriage, they have no idea if what they're telling you works. They just think that it's a good idea. So just always take those people with a grain of salt. Number two, you want to watch out for the people who use words like should a lot. So they're like, well, he shouldn't be that way. He should know better. It should be equal. And it's like, what universe are you living in? Like, these people are fixated on how the world ought to be instead of how it is, which is great if you're not living with an actual human being who you need to work things out with. So whenever I hear people saying that, I always think, why? Who said that? And to what end? You don't have any reason to be telling people how things should be when we have not seen that actually happen. These are just my notes over here if I look for a second. So the next kind of people you want to not take advice from is people who love to use labels. They're always throwing out things like some kind of mental health condition your partner has, or saying he's a narcissist. And it's like, okay, maybe the person giving that advice has experienced a legitimately emotionally abusive relationship. And in their case, that label was really important to them because they were able to get out because they could see that this person would never change. But in the majority of cases, you're just dealing with normal human immaturity, ego, and lack of knowledge and skills about relationships. And once you slap a label on someone, everything they do is going to go through that filter. And it's going to be that much harder to see them for who they are and to give them the benefit of the doubt. So don't go to labels unless you're needing to get out. If you want to have a happy marriage, you want to stay away from labels as much as possible and the people who slap them around. Okay, so the next type of advice you want to watch out for is people who pass judgment on other people's intentions. So they're not just saying that what your husband did hurt your feelings. They're saying he was trying to hurt your feelings. You're saying he was manipulative. He was conspiring to mess with you. And it's like, I don't know. Everybody thinks they're a good person. Everybody is just doing things that feel right to them, that seem appropriate to them. So to say now that this person is cooking up schemes in order to mess with you, it just takes it too far, in my opinion. There's a quote, I can't remember who originally made it, but I love it. It says, always assume disorganized incompetence over organized malevolence. So it's like, just assume someone's clueless. Just assume they forgot. Just assume that their shit's kind of not together. I mean, we know what that feels like, right? For someone to be planning and strategizing and manipulating the situation, that takes a lot of thinking and intelligence and energy. And generally, that's just not going on. And further to that, once we get infected with the idea that our partner actually is trying to hurt us, that's a real hard one to come back from. Because then everything you see that they're just doing, living their own life, is now them going out of their way to make you feel bad. So definitely watch out for people who assume that others are out to get you, because it's just very rarely the case. Now, does that mean that people don't cause pain unintentionally? Of course they do. I mean, that's the whole problem in relationships. We're hurting each other unintentionally all the time. And that matters. I mean, the pain still matters, even if someone didn't mean to. But intentions count, right? If we know that someone did it accidentally, that's going to change the way it feels on our heart than if we've made this decision to believe they did it on purpose. And the final piece of criteria for weighing other people's advice is, how does it make you feel? Does it make you feel hopeless and cynical and just defeated? Because then that advice is disempowering. That's advice that's saying he should do something or he ought to do this. It's like, well, what are you going to do about that? That's him. You can't make him do it. Or, that's not fair. Shouldn't be that way. It's like, yeah, and what am I going to do with that? And maybe it isn't fair. Maybe it should be better. But that advice is not going to get you anywhere. You want advice that gives you some hope. You want advice that gives you something to hang on to, that you have some action you can take. Otherwise, just let it go off your back, because there's a lot of people slinging bad advice out there and it hasn't worked for them. So, it's not the place to start. Okay, so what is the kind of advice that I hear over and over again that is just terrible and doesn't work? Here's a story to illustrate it. So say the woman says, my husband comes home from work, he sits on the couch and he does nothing. I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm yelling at the kids, I'm putting them to bed, and the whole time he's been sitting there. And by the end of the night, I'm just exhausted, I'm livid, and he seems like he has no idea that I could use some help. And then these people will all pipe up and say, well, you should tell him that. You should tell him that you're not his mama. You should tell him that he should get off his ass. You should tell him that these are his kids too. You should tell him that you're mad and that, this is crap and it's not fair. And it's like, okay, maybe all those things are true, but how do you think he's going to respond to that approach? Right? And so you go in there and you say, listen, this isn't right. You need to get off your ass. Why are you sitting there? I need some help. And he's going to do what most people do. We defend, we deflect, or we avoid. So the defending is, what do you want from me? I go to work all day. I'm working my ass off. I should have the chance to rest when I get home. You don't have to run around like that. Why don't you sit down? And you're thinking, whoa, 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 like that's not what I said. It's great that you go to work. Or, they deflect, they put it back on you. If you weren't yelling and screaming at the kids all day, I wouldn't be so stressed out. Like, you make this place miserable. Now you're hurt because now he's counterattacking on this thing. Or the classic is avoidance. Looks at you, says nothing, walks out. Conversation over. Goes to the garage and smokes some weed. And maybe tomorrow when he comes home, he goes directly to the garage and smokes some weed. That's a true story from one of my clients. It's never going to work, this direct confrontation approach. Or you might call it the call-out approach. It's like, let him know why he's wrong. Let him know he has to change. And it's like, I wish the people giving this advice would have to live with it. I would like to know if any of them have any kind of luck in the relationships, because it doesn't work. Because essentially what you've done is you've gone after that person's core value, you've gone after their ego, and you've shamed them. Because they're thinking, I'm a good person, I'm a good provider, I love my wife, I love my kids. How dare she attack me like this? And immediately comes up the ego defense. She doesn't appreciate me, she thinks I'm a loser, she doesn't respect me. So there's this shame coming up in him that he's trying to escape and push back down. The last thing he's doing is hearing your heart, which is, oh, I would really love some help. Like, I'm so tired, or like, I'm so confused, I don't know how to talk to you about this, because you're just not operating the way I would. You're such a different person than me. Okay, so this is going to put you into a negative spiral, because not only does direct confrontation not work and elicit reactions that you don't want, it causes more damage, because now you've hurt the emotional safety in your relationship. So now you have another problem to deal with. You have more distance. You have more lack of trust. So what can you do instead? Well, first of all, I want to tell you, I'm not saying that just because this is typical behavior, you just have to accept it. The other kind of terrible advice I hate is the kind that says, men are just like that, live with it, it's always been that way, just like take it or leave it, which is also very disempowering, because it's not sustainable. Now, the reason this is going on, this particular type of situation, is because for generations and generations, men came home to relax. They didn't do any domestic labor at all. And women had other people helping them. They had other women and girls and teenagers and grandmas. And now women are also going out the house and working for however many long hours and coming back and doing the second shift. So this is a major conflict, and it's not unusual. And men don't know better, or they wouldn't be doing it, because 50% of marriages end in divorce, and 50% or over 50%, and more than 50% of those divorces are initiated by women. So what that tells me is that ordinary women are divorcing ordinary men. It's not like the outliers. It's not just the most abusive scenarios of these people who have wild, dramatic, failing relationships. No, it's our normal behavior that is conflicting with each other. And it's not surprising. So I'm not defending these men, and I'm not saying you should just accept it, but I'm going to give you a different way. Okay. So what you want to do to inspire him to do more is to appreciate him for what he's already doing. Now, I know this is like hard to do, and you're angry and you're resentful and you're burnt out, but it works. Okay. So if you want to do what works, start by next time you see him, you say, I really appreciate your consistency with providing for the family. I really appreciate your generosity. It makes it a lot easier to know that you're always bringing in income and we have everything we need, you know? I know sometimes you hate your job. Thank you. And he's going to be shocked to his core because he does hate his job half the time and he does hate his boss half the time and he feels emasculated and it's kind of a buzzkill. Who doesn't have that experience? But to get the validation from you that you see that and that you appreciate it, he's going to feel a little bit better. He's going to come looking for you the next day. And if you continue this campaign of appreciation, of noticing the way he's doing things right, you're going to repair the foundation of your marriage. And once it's repaired, once you have some joy in your life and some ease again, that's when you can start asking him for tangible help. That's where you can give specific requests, not why don't you do something, not you never do anything. Something like, hey, could you take the garbage out on Wednesday at this time? I'd really appreciate that. And then when he does it, you say, thank you. That means a lot to me. And you do that over and over again. And over time, what happens is he starts to enjoy doing the things around the house because it makes you so happy. He's doing it to make you happy. And that, my friends, is the tipping point. Because once he realizes that you're happy and you're happy because what he's doing, he's getting more and more reinforcement that this is the way to spend his energy. Appreciation is just incredibly powerful. Okay, so you focus on the positives, you always appreciate, and this is so simple, but it's so effective, and it's counterinstinctual because once we get really exhausted, we just don't want to do it. And so part of the package here is you've got to put yourself first in your own life. Self-care is way up there because otherwise you're just going to be too tired to do any of this. And some of that means dropping the ball and letting things fall apart once in a while. Because we women, we put impossible standards on ourselves, to do amazing at work, to do amazing in our homes, to do amazing with our kids. And it's absolutely impossible. Again, it comes from a time and a place that is gone. We need to let some of that go. And if you can do that, you're going to see big changes in your marriage. So it's been so great having you here. I see a bunch of you here. Comment in the thing. What stood out for you and what do you want to try at home? And I just wanted to let you know that this Thursday, just in 2 days, I'm doing a group coaching call where we're going to talk more about this foundation of creating a healthy, happy marriage that lasts for the long haul. And so if you're interested in that, click on the link there and it's going to sign you up for an email, which is going to tell you more about it. Or you can just message me directly and say, yeah, I'm in. I'll send you the links because this is going to be a lot of fun. We're just going to have a small intimate group of women. I'm going to do a little talk and then I'm going to coach you and I'm going to answer you questions because there are solutions. There are ways to live happily with all kinds of different men and all kinds of different scenarios. So don't lose hope and don't listen to those bad advice people who just make you feel bad about yourself and bad about your life. Anyways, it was so great to have you here and I can't wait to hear from you. Bye-bye.